So, thanks for coming over.
You're welcome.
So, you're my father, Dr. Krietchman. Just 30 seconds. Who are you? What do you do for those who are going to listen or see this?
Uh, Hi, Dr. Ray Krietchman. I'm a dentist. I have an office in Brooklyn and one in Staten Island. I've been in business about a little over 50 years. So I'm pretty well used to my profession and just continuing to work and enjoying it.
Okay. And you're a native New Yorker,
Yes, born in Brooklyn.
born in Brooklyn, and you live in Staten Island.
Yes.
Okay. Um, the reason why I have you here is because there's a lot of things that are going on around us politically and government wise, citywide, and a pandemic, an economic pandemic, social change, reform. There's a lot of things going on right now. Why I have you here and why I want to talk to you is to get an understanding as to what is wrong with our city, what is wrong with our state from a healthcare system. You being a doctor for 50 plus years and being in that industry, I want to hear from your side of the fence what the experience is like as a doctor, and also what you know from maybe other colleagues and what they deal with, whether it's insurance, patient, city, even how the pandemic has been treating you. So let's start, I guess, dealing with the big macro problem. What are the problems that you face?
Right now, it's the pandemic.
Okay.
Uh, Last year, we shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I continued to work on an emergency basis. So I used to have a large practice, two offices. So people have pain. So I just can't neglect people. Plenty of doctors shut their phones off.
Mm-hmm.
I saw patients. I try to see only my own patients, but I did have to see other people. We took a lot of precautions.
Mm-hmm.
Financially, it was a disaster for us. It was PPP, uh, which was great from the government, but that didn't solve everything.
Mm-hmm.
High cost, prices went up,
Mm-hmm.
supplies went up. Every year, prices go up. And I would say about it's really not where it was before the pandemic. A lot of patients are afraid to come in. They don't even want to take their mask off when they sit in my chair.
That's a little bit
It's
of a
ridiculous.
hindrance.
It's dangerous, but it's
Well, I mean, ridiculous is a strong word. I think that there's people have valid fear because they don't know, right?
yeah,
But at the same time, when you go to the dentist, you got to take your mask off, right? So,
exactly.
so it's,
Exactly.
I
I've got
see.
to work.
Yeah.
I've got to work, and we still have to have precautions because I have to protect my staff.
Hmm.
I had to buy a lot of screens,
Hmm.
sneeze guards, as they call
Yeah.
them, and but basically, my patient load is down.
Hmm.
People do not want to come in. They're afraid. They're waiting for the pandemic to leave, and they come in, and they're very nervous when they come in
So with
because they
that
don't know
being
what to expect.
so with that being said, what do you think could give people a sense of confidence to come back in?
Well, I think that when more people get the injection,
The
more people
vaccine.
get the vaccine, I think that they're going to feel a little more at ease. I know there was a lot of resistance to the vaccine in the beginning, but I think now that more and more people are getting the vaccine, there's going to be three vaccines on the market. So I think the one that J&J has is one shot.
Well,
So
it's
that's
also
going to
only
make a difference.
66% effective.
Right. But they say it's better than nothing.
Agreed. Agreed.
And a lot of people have a lot of serious side effects.
Hmm.
I know I did. I got the shot. I got the Pfizer shot, and I had no side effects.
Mm.
Very nothing, nothing.
Okay.
My daughter got the Moderna shot, and she's a dentist also. She was in bed for 2 days on the first shot, and had terrible headaches on the second shot. A
So
lot
it
of
affects
people.
everybody differently.
Everybody is different.
Okay.
Everybody is different. Um, but the main thing is that the insurance companies said to us that we're going to give you a little extra money for PPP because you had to spend more money. And occasionally I get a check for a visit, from the insurance companies. But I got a bone to pick with the insurance companies anyway.
Well, let's actually hammer into that
Yeah.
because as I highlighted this, one of my questions and reasons for talking to you is to really get a sense and understand what it's like to deal with this third party system that pays you
Yeah.
and what that experience is like and how it's evolved and changed over time, because a lot of people don't even know the history of the experience. Not many people even talk to doctors who have been practicing for 50 years to understand how even the evolution has changed, because I remember you telling me as a kid that doctors weren't allowed to advertise at some point.
Yeah, many, many years ago, when I opened my practice up, we had to put up a sign with just your name on it. It had to be a certain size. And then all of a sudden,
Were you allowed to put any ads anywhere?
no, no advertising whatsoever.
And that was like what, in the 70s?
70s, I don't know exactly what year it changed, but that was like a tremendous thing that happened in New York State. Now you could put any kind of a sign up, you could advertise radio, TV ads, anything you want for dentistry, for chiropractic, for lawyers. And you see ads on the TV for lawyers all the time. Uh, you have to be careful. It's like anything else.
Okay.
You got to pick and choose a doctor you like. I found that my patients Google me, they look me up, they see what kind of a reputation I have online. And that's where I get, I would say, a lot of my new patients. A lot of them is referral, but a lot of them look me up. They see any negative reports, positive reports. Some insurance companies rate me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and a patient came in one day and said, listen, I found you on the Aetna website and you were rated #1 in your area. So I said, thank you. So
Well,
I
that's
know
great.
that there's good parts to this insurance business, but the bone that I have to pick is that they don't raise their rates. They decide what I charge and they go by zip code. So if I have a zip code in Brooklyn and I have a zip code in Staten Island, I have different fee schedule with the same insurance company. One may be a few dollars more, the other one is a few dollars less.
What's it like getting paid? And what is it like to submit and
Well, we submit electronically.
okay.
So within a week or 2 weeks, I get paid for my services. So I don't mind waiting for my money.
Mm-hmm.
Question is that if you're in a plan, they dictate what the price is. In other words, if I want to charge $500 for a procedure, the insurance company might say, well, you're only going to get 125. Be happy.
Now, why is the justification of that?
Well, they feel that they have to keep the rates within a certain fee schedule.
So do you think that could be deduced that it has to do with their bottom line?
Definitely. They're charging the manufacturer, they're charging the business for their employees X number of dollars. And they have plans that they sell to the employer. The employer picks the plan.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they pick the cheapest plan. And every November, December, they switch. So you're locked into that plan for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you find out that you can't go to that doctor because you picked the cheapest plan. Now you have to wait another year, or if you forget to renew, then you're stuck without dental insurance. Okay, I know about dental insurance.
Mm-hmm. What do you know any offhand how many people have dental insurance and how many people of New York City actually
Oh,
go
a
to the
lot of them.
dentist?
All the city employees have dental insurance.
Okay.
All right, they can also pick the plan that they like from whatever is offered to them.
Hmm.
Okay, some of them are paying very low, but I accept insurance. I have a lot of different plans I'm with, and they all have different fee schedules. But when I submit my fees to the insurance company, they want me to submit my regular fee. So if I charge $1,000 for a procedure, that means nothing. It's just a number on the paper. They determine what the patient will get and how much, what percentage the patient pays and what I pay, or what I get, I should say.
So
And then
do
I
you
have to
feel
collect the difference.
so do you feel that they're efficient?
Well, I think that in some cases, some plans haven't changed in 20 years. In other words, the benefit that they pay towards a specific procedure has not increased.
But yet they charge the businesses
Well, I don't know
for,
what they charge the business.
well, I think it's safe to assume that the rates have gone up,
Oh, the rates have gone up,
but
but
what they
what they
pay out to
pay
you haven't
me
changed.
maybe go up 1% every year. Sometimes a lot of different fees don't change. Cleaning, examinations, those things, I take it 100%. So the insurance company pays it 100%, not 100% of my fee, it's 100% of their fee. So in other words, if I'm doing an involved procedure, root canals or whatever it is, they may pay 50, 60% and the patient pays the other 40. And with the way the economy is today, people out of work, people not getting paid what they used to get paid. So it's pretty hard to come up with that 40%. Or let's say they only get a benefit of $1,000 or $1,500 a year. That goes quick. So then they got to wait till next year to resume payments. So it becomes really, I'm stuck in the middle.
So
My costs go up.
yeah, your costs go up.
My
and the-
rent, my insurance, overhead goes up, my malpractice insurance. Thank God I'm okay. But, God forbid I have a case against me, I may lose my malpractice. And then I got to go pay 3-4 times the amount with a company that might pick me up. And this is with medical too.
So ultimately, the prices are going up on your side of the costs, and the fees aren't going
Right.
up.
The fees are pretty much
Structurally.
stagnant.
And that's the fees of what the insurance company will pay you.
Right.
Even though it's safe to assume that they're probably charging more rates as they expand and what they're doing.
Well, they have to be competitive. They have to be competitive. But a lot of businesses will switch insurance at the end of the year because they found a cheaper plan, but yet it's cheaper because they give less benefits, or instead of a $1,500 a year, they'll go to $1,000 a year. Or they'll get a plan that has a waiting period for a year or two before any major work is done.
So here's the question that I want to ask, which is coming out of all of this. Actually, two questions. First question is, do you feel like your partner is the insurance company? Like, as in they're a partner in your business and they kind of dictate how you get paid?
Definitely. But they also put me on a website so a patient can pick me.
Okay, that's
in a
fair.
neighborhood.
So Discovery is great.
Yeah.
Discovery is fantastic.
So they do help you in that respect.
But do you get more patients from the insurance company, or do you get more patients from word of mouth as you grow your practice over 50 years?
I think that as the years have gone by, I found that advertising never worked for me. I spent a lot of money advertising to see when I opened up my second office. I wanted to see, I went to an advertising company, spent thousands and thousands of dollars. And what they said didn't work as a dentist. Somehow this profession, people are afraid, and it got to get your confidence. And you got to do good work too.
Gotcha.
And naturally. And that's how you build a practice.
So at what point did insurance companies become this to you as a business? Was it always from day one, or?
Well, I started out in private practice. And then as the years went by, people would say, well, I have insurance now.
Well, when you say private practice, there are probably people who don't
Fee for
understand the term.
service.
So you were paid directly by the customer.
Right. People paid me cash in the beginning. Then they would come in and say, since I opened up in 72, people paid cash for everything. But don't forget, a filling was $3 or $5, $7. For a filling, a crown was $100. And malpractice was $100 a year. So most people paid by cash. And then
that's 1972,
right,
which is what, 50 years?
Exactly. 49
years ago.
Right.
Precisely.
So now people are paying, then they started paying by checks. And then a few years later, then the credit cards came in, which was great because I had an argument with this older dentist at the time. And he says, oh, it's not professional. We couldn't advertise. It wasn't professional. But I said to the man, I says, well, I had a patient pay me the whole bill up front and put it on his credit card. And he says to me, wow, I have to send out bills every month to get paid. He signed up.
So
right
credit
on the
cards
spot.
were immediate cash up front in your hand.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I think that There
Oh,
isn't a day that I don't take in 5 to 10 credit cards
well,
as payment.
not to get far into that.
Right.
When did the insurance part show up?
Oh, that started gradually as the years went by. Started out one or two companies, then more and more companies, but they're offering a benefit for the employee. And the employee now has dental insurance. There are some people said that come in today and they said, well, I haven't been here for 5 years because I haven't had any insurance.
Mm,
So cleaning and x-rays is full, but then they have 5 years of neglect. So $1,500, maybe $2,000 a year that the insurance company is going to pay is not going to cover their bill.
mhm,
And I can't charge anything else. In other words, I'm stuck with those PPO fees, as they're called.
mhm.
So when a private patient comes in, I charge them my private fees. I don't think it's right to charge one person one because they have insurance and another person my regular fee. But I have to make ends meet like every other dentist.
So where do you see insurance impact on the overall system and health of patients and people and New Yorkers?
You need it. You have to have insurance because people will neglect themselves
Okay, well, how
because of money.
is since this it sounds like there's a plus and minus to using insurance. And it sounds like the discovery is good for you. It sucks that the fees don't kick in, or rather the rates that they pay you don't go up. But can you see any change that could happen that could be better, that could make the system better for you, but also make it better for the customer?
Well, it's the insurance companies that charge the business.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you have New York City.
Mm-hmm.
They use they use medical, one insurance company, they use dental, another insurance company. So the police, the firemen, sanitation all use one particular company. And they have multiple plans that the customer can pick, all within an umbrella of, let's say, Healthplex is the big one. And their fees are very low. So am I going to have an empty room?
Mm.
So I have to take patients.
Mm-hmm.
I have to work. I have to support my family. I got to support the girls that work for me, my employees. They have to have a salary. I can't just pay them,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I feel like paying them or hourly, things like that. I don't believe in that. I think they should have a set salary.
Okay,
So I have to see these patients. An empty chair is an unproductive chair, someone once told me.
it's fair, fair.
Yeah. So I have some insurance companies that pay me more, some pay me less. So it all balances out. But at the end of the year, I get statements from all the insurance companies at 1099, and it tells me what each company paid me.
Mm-hmm.
So I know which ones are the big ones that I do a lot of business with. And they're all over the country.
So holistically, would you say that insurance companies are good or bad? It's a very binary question, but
No, I think it's in the end, really, it's good.
in the end, it's good.
It's good for me. It's good for the patient.
Where can it be better?
I think that there's got to be, well, the insurance companies work out a fee.
Mm-hmm.
They work out a fee. They go on a cost basis for each procedure. I think it's fair. I think it's what what they charge the the customer, not the customer, the employer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the employer doesn't pay his bill on time, then I don't get paid. I once called an insurance company. I says, I'm waiting 3 months to get paid. He says, well, the employer pays us, then we cut checks. And that's how it works. It's not that they have billions of dollars sitting around to pay their dental benefits. It's not like the federal government to print money. These people can't print money. They just have to wait till they get paid from the employer. Then they can pay the benefits to me. It's just like a pass through and they keep a percentage.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's probably how it works. And at one point when I got out of school, I worked for a big insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for them, for about 2 years before I opened up my office. So I got a little eye opening. I would see how much is fraud.
Mm-hmm.
There's doctors that put bills in that don't do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And my job at one particular point was to call the patient and see if the work was ever done.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I found out that a lot of doctors didn't do the work. They put bills in for thousands of dollars and nothing was done.
No kidding.
Yeah. And that was way back in the 70s. So,
Do you feel that
well, that
that's
impacts it
no?
because
Do you feel that still is occurring?
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But listen, it's like anything else. When times are tough, people do things that they shouldn't be doing.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
You know,
Um, so since this is also about a healthy city, do does how important is dental health for New Yorkers?
it's extremely important. It's
All
part
right.
of your overall health.
Would you say that it's a basic human necessity?
Definitely necessity.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I used to see years ago people that came from other countries to here, you know, people that worked on ships.
Mm-hmm.
As I worked in Brooklyn, I had some people that worked on the docks and they recommended people when they would come in. And I would see the quality of dentistry in other countries. And the United States is by far the best. And these people also suffered. They had infections in their mouth. They went unchecked and lost half their teeth. They're 20-year-olds missing 3, 4 teeth,
Mm.
and then it just snowballs out. And then before you know it, they have no teeth, no ability to chew food.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that have no teeth,
Mm.
So it affects your digestion. It affects your well-being. And periodontal disease is hooked up with heart disease, gum disease with heart. And, that's the
Well, let's
first
talk
thing
about
we
the
look.
cosmetic side of it. How do people feel in a society that everything is very superficial, especially with the Instagram and social media and taking pictures of people and having smiles and something, so all of that, that also affects people's emotional and mental health,
Oh,
not having good teeth.
yeah, I have people that come in and then they want their cosmetic work done. I do the cosmetic work and they just take out their cell phone, take a picture, and it's an Instagram before they even get out of my office. So they're happy with it. And so they want everybody in the world to see it, especially in their 20s, 30 years olds. So they do that. And it's
So
flattering,
yeah, it's great. So you feel that it's a human necessity.
definitely today. Always
So
has been.
always has been, but ever more so now, declaring it. And one of the things that I think that would make a really healthy city, if we were to objectively look and build a city from the ground up, and let's say we were able to, you know, we had all the money in the world and we had all the land available, and we decided to go build a city right now that all New York could move into. And we'd have to set up rules and regulations and guidelines and establish some sort of bare minimum of living experience, right? Would would dental care be there for those people that live in that city?
It has to be there.
Okay. So if it has to be there, do you think that if it's a like it always comes back to New York City, right? We live in New York City. It's one of the wealthiest cities in the world, but yet there are stark differences. So my question is, at what point, because a lot of New Yorkers don't have dental insurance. A lot of New Yorkers don't have health care coverage at all. And they pay just the taxes and the fines as opposed to paying for the health insurance that they need because it's cheaper to pay the fine and deal with not having the insurance.
Well, there's Medicare, Medicaid.
Well, what are the
This is
barriers
for
to get?
people.
What are there barriers to get Medicaid and Medicare?
Well, I think it's a financial thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think, to qualify for Medicaid is a financial thing
Mm-hmm.
or a physical thing. And,
That doesn't cover dentistry, or does it?
well, Medicaid covers dentistry, but you got to go to a Medicaid doctor who accepts the low fee schedule.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lower fee schedule than you even accept.
Oh, sure, I'm not Medicaid because I couldn't exist on that. I
Got it.
mean, and then you have to wait for your money a long time.
Got it. So there is services out there. The problem is that now there's quality problem potentially.
Right, but how are you supposed to run and maintain an office clean, up to date,
Well, that's my
modern
point.
equipment?
That's my point. If
Yeah,
you're now a New Yorker who isn't that qualifies for Medicaid and you get Medicaid, now are you motivated to go to a dentist?
right, but you've got to go to a Medicaid dentist.
Correct. So are you motivated to go to that dentist who you can clearly see, or maybe you can't see, maybe you're not educated in the dental world, but how how likely is that person willing to go to the dentist in the first place, knowing or making an assumption that they know that this dentist is operating at the bare minimum and they're not able to update their office, they're not able to be at the cutting edge, they're not even able to do great work, or maybe they're not at the top of the game in the first place.
Well,
Is that giving people access to the
well, they're
right
getting
level of
some
health?
care. They're getting some care that the city or the state will pay for. And
But what is that quality based on you
well,
being a
that's
professional?
up to the doctor. That's up to the doctor. I know that I could not run an office, sterilize everything, pay for good help, and exist on the Medicare fee schedule, Medicaid fee schedule that they had. I worked in an office many, many years ago that was a Medicaid office,
Mm-hmm.
and we packed them in, and five, six chairs. I'd be, an assembly line. I'd go from one room to another, back and forth. This was when I was young, and I said, "This isn't for me." And the instruments, I was questioning whether they were even sterilized at that time in the early 70s. And that's why I wanted no part of it.
So, with that being said, considering how important dental health is to the whole holistic of a human being, what can be done to improve that system in the first place? Do you think that, or do you think it's fine as it is?
But the Medicaid
Yeah.
system, well, I'm not too familiar with it now,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't want to go on. But I know that Medicaid for dentistry was around before I became a dentist.
Got it.
There was a lot of fraud then,
Got it.
all right?
Which then implies that the
And
insurance companies have to really
so what
stamp out
happened
things.
was from what I gathered, the Medicaid doctors didn't even lose their licenses, from what I understand. They were just um, barred from being a Medicaid doctor.
Got it.
That was all. But they did put tremendous claims in for work that they didn't do because it was a bonanza. They were getting fortune of money from the Medicaid office, from the Medicaid people. That they don't talk about much.
Mm.
But in every profession, there's fraud. You see doctors all the time going to jail.
Okay. Happens often, though.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of news, though.
Well, locally.
Yeah. So, I'm running for mayor. What do you think about healthcare and what the mayor can do as initiatives to improve uh, health for New Yorkers and also for relationships with dentists and doctors? What do you think that the city should or could do?
Well, city employees get medical and dental coverage even after they're retired. And of course, that's a big part of the budget,
Mm.
So that's, I don't know, somebody told me it's more than 50% of the budget, what they're paying on medical and pension plans after the police and sanitation leave the job.
Yeah.
So they work there 20 years and then 25 years, and then they've got a tremendous pension buildup. And they get their teeth and they get their medical hospitalization, they get all that, which is why a city job, has its advantages. So they're going to be taken care of. And if they get a second job, then when they retire, if they get that second job, then they can qualify for Social Security too,
Yeah.
as a supplement. Well, maybe I think now the government gives Social Security normally.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's
Background music.
yeah. I'd say that that's a good distraction to realize what New York's really like. We got the sirens in the background. We got phone ringing. It's normal. All right.
So I think that we covered a lot of topics.
Well, yeah. I mean, to
You
get
know.
a sense of what's going on, is
You can't
always good.
you can't get away from insurance. You have to have insurance.
Yeah.
People have to be protected. They have to be able to go to a hospital. They have to be able to have clean, modern offices, doctors who know their stuff.
So, with that being said, how do you feel about health insurance companies being for profit?
They're
Do
making a
you
lot of money.
do you think that there is an incessant bias to not pay out and to not give enough coverage of services that likely affect the system in the first place for both the doctor and the patient?
Well,
Isn't there an incentive in there if
of
they're for
not to pay
profit?
good. Yeah, well, if they're for profit, then the head of the company is going to make $1 million and hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Mhm.
Okay, and then if they're public companies, don't they have to
Report.
report to their stockholders?
Well, so
You know,
that's actually the point is when you start talking about shareholders and CEOs and all this sort of stuff making money and reporting earnings, isn't is that the reason why health insurance was put in place?
that I can't tell you. I think that the original was not for that. I think it was for benefits for people. I think everything starts out altruistically for the patient, and I think that things change.
Well, incentives happen, which is
Incentive
money.
happens, which is money, and then if you need more money, you go public,
Mhm.
and you make millions and billions of dollars right
So
away.
on and so forth.
Right. So people invest in a company. Well, the company has to produce. You can't keep losing money. You got to keep making money. But I think that to change is going to be difficult. To change is
Well, any
difficult.
change is
So
difficult, yeah.
patients want to get the best of care.
Right? Yeah, that
And
on
the
one side.
employer is paying the bill.
They want to pay the least.
So they want to pay the least. So their bottom line, they can run their businesses.
Right.
How many businesses
And
have
then on the other
closed?
side of the fence, you've got the doctor or the hospital or whatever it is who wants to get paid the most to potentially sometimes do the least sometimes because that's an incentive bias, right? Like we
Yeah.
all want to be paid the most to
Mhm.
potentially do the least. We
You
still
know-
want to do quality work.
Yeah, I know. I see what charges my family's had when they go to a hospital.
Mhm.
And a hospital might put a bill in for $30,000 and discount 25 of it. And then the insurance company or Medicare will pay $1,500 on a $30,000 procedure. And I've seen that happen.
And why I believe that this is all because of the capitalistic point of view of what has infected something that altruistically started, which is healthcare insurance. Altruistically, everyone should have coverage, right? Everyone should have access to good quality care.
Right.
But
Well,
when
there
you
is-
bias it by
Yeah.
allowing it to be for profit, the wheels come off the train after a period of time because there's incentive bias. The more money we make and the less we pay out, the
The
better
more
it
we
is for our
keep.
shareholders and
That's
the more
right.
we keep, right?
That's right. And the employees get a nice paycheck
Yeah, I mean,
at the company.
the CEO of Cigna got $32 million last year. Meanwhile, there's
Well,
millions
that's
of
his
people,
base salary.
and
That's
there's a
his
lot of
base
people who
salary.
can't afford insurance.
Right. Right. So
Now, someone would say that, oh, that's the free market, right? But now we've seen the free market play out just recently in Texas. How do you feel about the fact that some people got charged five to $20,000 for 3 days worth of electricity because they allowed a free market without any regulation?
Mm.
Capitalism can be good, but apparently capitalism unkept
Listen,
can go off the
I
rails.
used to pay $7, $8 for a box of gloves. And I used to pay $7, $8 for masks.
Yeah,
It's doubled.
and you go through that a lot,
Right.
considering
I
your
wear
profession.
masks all day long. I wear gloves all day long, change them. I'm constantly buying it, and the prices go up. What am I going to do? I have to pay it, but I'm not charging anymore. I'm absorbing the costs.
Which eats into your profit margin.
Right. And a lot of stuff I couldn't get because it used to come from China. Everything was made in China. All my masks, my gloves, everything. And now that it's back on the market and the gowns that I would wear are back on the market at a higher price.
Mhm.
Okay. So who's charging that higher price?
And why is it higher in the first place? Is it purely the opportunity
I
because
paid
it's in demand more?
$19 for a can of Lysol. That was before the pandemic. It was 7.25 in the supermarket. Now, if you can even find it, I find it in the little small grocery stores for $19 for a bottle for a large can of Lysol spray. You know that
Which just keeps perpetually driving up the costs,
right. So now
which
they're
makes
making
a place
small
like New York City
bottles.
completely unaffordable.
Exactly. So, and I think it's all over the country.
Of course it is.
It is. They're going to charge more. They say you live in the South, you don't have to wear heavy clothes, but you still eat. The food is the same price.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, but I think that we need somebody that's going to make a change. Somebody you can't start and change everything at once, but you
Clearly.
got to start. You got to start somewhere, and people have to be uh, willing to change. Sometimes there's sacrifice involved,
Mhm.
but people have to be willing to accept the change. We can't keep going the way we're going now, and if we keep going the way we're going now, we're not going to survive.
I
Now, this is New York City. New
mhm.
York City, I'm looking out the window over here. It's a ghost town. I see shops and stores empty.
Well, to that point,
You know,
there's a whole problem in that in and of itself. I mean, before COVID, 15% of the storefronts were vacant in New York City, and that has to do with this uh, housing market Ponzi scheme bubble that's happening that I've been investigating and uncovering more and more, which is why the goddamn rent's too goddamn high and people aren't able to afford. I mean, now in the middle of COVID, you've got storefronts vacancy up to 74%. So it's increased by 23% roughly.
these are small
But
businesses.
again, it was already 51% vacant. How many storefronts have you seen and can remember over the past 5 to 10 years that have been vacant?
Oh, but just in this last year, I was just driving down Staten Island this morning, and I noticed that one block that had about five, six, or small stores, only one is open. The others are just completely gone.
Well, that's this year, right? That
Yeah,
accounts for that
that
additional
that's
23%.
this year.
But uncovering the problem deeper is the fact that there was an introduction of a vacancy tax that I've been digging into, and landlords would be taxed if they had vacant storefronts, which is an incentive to push them to lease their properties. And the reason why that got shot down by REBNY, which is the Real Estate Board of New York, which is the lobby for real estate in Albany, they shot it down because it would basically force landlords to actually accept lower rent rates, which is not what they want. Because there's a system that I've been discovering. And what they do is, for example, a landlord buys a building, commercial or residential, buys a building. 5 years goes by, they start increasing drastically their rents. The reason why they increase their rent is so that they can then go to the bank. When they go to the bank, they can then say, hey, I want to remortgage this building so I can get some access to capital to go buy another building. They've proven that they have more revenue because they've just jacked up their rent. So now they get that money. That money is not taxed. It's remortgaged, right? No capital gains being spent. They take that money, they go buy another building, and then they repeat the cycle. Now, what's happening is it's driving up the cost of all the rents. How many times have you heard in the past 5 years alone that a business is going out of business after being in business for 20, 30, 40 years because they can't afford the rent anymore because the landlord decided to double the rent, triple the rent, quadruple the rent? Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. Few times. Yeah.
Often, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why we got to 51% of vacant storefronts before COVID hit. So there's this system that is happening and occurring that is constantly perpetually driving the costs up, which is the reason why you've got double the price on your, which makes things worse by doubling the price of the PPP that you need, by Lysol going from 7.25 to almost $20 for a 16-ounce can. I mean, this is a problem. And capitalism is good because it breeds innovation, and it breeds through the incentive of the reward of money. It's good. Innovation comes out of that. But innovation also comes out of constraints and regulations because people find a way around the loopholes. They discover loopholes, they figure ways to work around and still provide what they want to in order to make money. So I think that as we keep going in society, we have to get to a point where we have to kind of look at ourselves and say, well, what's more important? Our the lining of our pocket of cash and and money, or are we going to take a stand and say, hey, this is getting out of control, it's unlivable? And it's also, we're not breeding a lifestyle for people to be happy, because when people are happy, creativity shows up. When creativity shows up, people can do more for themselves. How can one do more when they're constantly going from shelter to shelter because they can't afford rent, and no landlord is willing to take the voucher from the city that qualifies them for rent that the city will pay for them? How can Section 8 work? How can any of these things happen when you've got landlords that are coming in with this incentive to drive rates up because they're building these big luxury places? So a lot of change has to happen, and it all can't happen at once, but it all can't be ignored and pushed off because it's 2021 and we keep pushing off the change more and more to the point where it's going to actually have to happen in a drastic way, because the people who are going without are fed up. They're sick and tired. I'm sure there are many things that you're sick and tired about. That's why things are going to come abruptly and painfully if we don't act now and do it amicably. Because the one thing that I've learned in life is that change is inevitable. Evolution is part of life. And Darwin actually didn't say survival of the fittest is what evolution is. It's actually survival of the most adaptable. So those who are unwilling to adapt to change are the ones who will not survive. So those who reject change are the ones who don't actually survive. So it's actually in all of humanity's best interest in New Yorkers that we change. And I propose that we should start looking into creating regulations here in New York City and potentially the state to stop the insurance companies from being for profit. Because I think that there is an innate incentive bias which forces them to affect your income and your ability to pay people and to hire people and to be able to do things, as well as it affects people who get care.
Filters all the way down.
And I think that that's one swift blow that can really make an effect. It's not the only thing, but I think that it's something worth having a conversation about. So thanks. I
The next
appreciate
time.
it.
Okay.
Have a
It
good
was
one.
nice. You
All
too.
right.
Bye-bye.